recording.
So I'm Paul Doyle, this is my presentation on labour regulation. So in the workplace there's public and private sectors. Public sector are organisations that are owned and operated by the government, so this would be stuff like schools, like education, the guards, healthcare, and then private sectors would be organisations that are owned and operated by private companies, such as like, I don't know, McDonald's and stuff like that. They're kind of the public is funded by like taxpayers' money, whereas private is just for themselves. It's for private. You know what I mean? Public, like when you work in a public sector, you have better job security, and it would usually be heavily unionised. So like a union is a group that discusses with a employer like certain things for the employee, like job benefits, the working hours, pay, stuff like that. If you go into a public job, you're most likely to have a fixed contract that's already made out for you. Whereas if you go into a private job, you'll have less job security, and your contract may differ to somebody else that you're working with. And usually when you're working in the private sector, you're like, say, if you're going to get promoted or anything like that, you're it's all about performance, whereas when you're in the public sector, it's more about the time you spend doing the job. So in TV and film, RTE would be a public and TV3 would be a private. There's some things that both sectors have to follow. Certain legislations like the Safety, Health and Welfare Act. This is basically talks about how the employer is basically responsible for its employees, that they don't have them working anything that they're not qualified to do. The Organisation of Working Act basically focuses on this act changes depending on public. It's all about it can be different depending on your employer, depending on if you're public or private, but it goes through things like how many hours a day you can work, if you get a break from work, like if you work 6 hours, you have to get a half-an-hour break. It also talks about stuff like annual leave. Annual leave is like if you work a certain amount of hours, you have to work a certain amount of hours, and you get 4 weeks, up to 4 weeks paid leave, so you don't have to be at work. But this can change depending on like it changes depending on your employer. And it also covers sick leave, but sick leave is not it's not forced, like your employer doesn't have to pay it, but it's more than likely you will in public. And in terms of employment, it goes through stuff like your contract and other stuff. So some of the benefits from working in RTE are they train you and they develop your skills as you work there. You have a pension scheme when you work in RTE. So basically, the longer you work, you build up your pension and get more money for when you eventually retire. They have I was just talking about earlier, the annual leave benefit. They have enhanced one, so basically you probably have more than the 4 weeks off of pay. And they also have other stuff like, I don't know, gym and daycare and stuff like that. From looking at TV3, looking through the website, they have no benefits listed, so it just leads me to believe that they don't actually have a lot of benefits. So it's pretty much, I don't know, work. And they do have internships, but obviously this isn't paid work. It's all about getting the experience, and this is just basically where I got my information. It's all the legislations, the citizens' information, and RTE website. I'm done. Thank you.
Sure.